Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right guys, decent start of the day. There were definitely few winners, couple of losers. Large caps went into chop mode. Semiconductors still not getting any flow. SPY QQQ still not able to get over the 1 hour bullish clouds. We introduced our low float watch list today. We had couple of winners on the low float setups as well. We'll talk about those. Anyways, guys, before I start a recap, just a quick introduction for anybody who's new to me, who's new to my community, or who is new to my YouTube or my Twitter. So let's do a small introduction. Guys, all these trade recaps and teachings are from any trades that are taken in our community. Either I'm taking them or not, but I'm guiding those in my community. Any call outs by my traders, or any ideas that I share on Twitter, any ideas share on YouTube. Every morning, me and my team, we create a watch list, a game plan for the trades for the day. You can see today's watch list right in front of you based upon the earnings, upgrades, downgrades, news, marketplace, IPOs. So we create a game plan. So this was our watch list today. We also had Apple, Tesla, ARM. There was a downgrade on ARM, and then there was Tesla had an upgrade by Morgan Stanley as its top pick. So we'll talk about all those, and in addition to that, we also provide levels for the daily plays. For example, SPY, QQQ, IWM, VIX, Apple, Microsoft, AMD, Nvidia. So the traders can take these levels and trade on their own. We do use a repeatable system, a EMA Cloud System that thousands of traders across the world use to trade consistently. So we use those systems and this level. We are not an alert service, but we do guide through various trades and various setups. We provide all the tools in the community for traders to trade successfully. In addition to that, we also have something called day 2, day 3 setups. This is a strategy that I invented for all the plays that that had news maybe yesterday or day before. Today there were a few plays on day 2, day 3 setups. VKTX was a good one, and then on the downside though, and then there was a CrowdStrike. We also had Chipotle. So a few day 2, day 3 setups. We recently launched our new watch list for low flow traders, penny stock traders. There were some decent movers, decent winners, which worked out today on that. There was SLRX, SERV, and there were some other plays that came through during the day. So these were the watch lists we provide everybody in the community. I'm usually on the voice. I get on the voice 5 minutes before the market open. We provide this game plan 20 minutes before the market opens, so traders can review the game plan, set up their watch list, set up their charts, and be ready for the trading day. There are a lot of concepts we teach in the community. There's a lot of setups. There's a morning setups, there's amateur move, which is the first 10 minutes, and there's a trend move, which is post 10 minutes. And then we also always track our profits into 10 a.m. So today was a lot of choppy day. We'll talk about that as well. But let's start to recap the trades for the today and see how we did. What I first want to discuss is the crypto, right? So crypto, Bitcoin was gapping up. There was a conference on the weekend where Trump was speaking. So if you watch my previous videos, if you watched my previous YouTube recaps, I've been talking about Bitcoin and all the coin and Mara for a long time. So I have been talking about it for a long time that Trump is pumping Bitcoin and it should push into the conference. And the conference was on the weekend, and all this run you see that started a couple of weeks back because of this. And of course then JD Vance became nominee for the vice president, and he also has a Bitcoin, good for the Bitcoin. So there's something called buy the news, buy the rumor, sell the news. So buy the rumor, sell the news. Now let's look at coin and let's look at MSTR. So let's look at both of these. Okay, so this morning both of them were on our watch list, right? And we have a crypto sheet where we create those levels. You clearly can see our crypto levels 250, and then there's MSTR level, which is 1812 and 1778. So we had these two levels of support, and then we had our cloud system. As soon as those levels go away, this is a short. coin is a short and MSTR is a short as soon as it breaks the 512 clouds and then it breaks the 3450 clouds. I personally wanted to short MSTR big size. The options were really spready, so I avoided that. But definitely the options really, it faded almost 100 points, 100, 125 points. And coin, you can clearly see faded another from the 250 pivot that I provided all the way to the daily MTF clouds. So I talked about that Bitcoin main watch today. Most of the names are gapping up, so be careful. And I was on the voice. I was talking about sell the news action, right? And I talked about it as 10 a.m. as well. And you take a short, fill the gap. And I told everyone, do not try to long it. Do not try to long coin, right? It's a sell the news today and let it fade down. There's no reason to buy it because the pump is gone. There's no catalyst. The catalyst that we have been running into, has gone. Now Trump becomes president, who knows when, but the main catalyst is gone. So everybody's trying to take profit. There's not going to be another run on into that catalyst at least, right? So that's why you see a big sell-off on the coin today. So although we were both bullish and both neutral bias when the day started, but you see even on the Twitter I was talking about sell the news action, the semiconductors were, and not only the sell the news, right? People were selling the semiconductors and crypto this morning. We do this sector analysis every day. So that's where the opportunities are, right? The short, take the puts on coin, short MSTR, you could short Mara, you could short CLSK, you could pick any Bitcoin related name and you could short it today, because today was the day of the outflow through the Bitcoin and it's the related stocks, right? That's why I told in the community we talked about it in the first half an hour that it's all day short, and we discussed it in the community as well. And you can clearly see that if I go to our market analysis that I do live, because I'm screen sharing live in the community, we talk about all these the setups. You can see crypto was definitely one of the weakest sectors all day long, selling off, right? So crypto was weak since the day started. Let's see. Yeah, so you can clearly see the crypto was one of the weakest, run right at the bottom, and that's why it faded all day. There was no reason to be long any of the crypto stocks today. This was a sell the news opportunity. Always be ready. That's why we had it on top of our plan, and that's why we had our crypto sheet, and that's why we know that's a big gap. When there's a big gap, there's always a gap fill opportunity. So that was the short on coin and MSTR today. And you can see how everyone was shorting coin in the community. Bitcoin, coin, MSTR. You can see Reddy, Lexi, Matthew, Meh, Slaughter, all of them in the community. You can see the live guidance in the community on the short, on the coin, and MSTR. Those were the opportunities that we take advantage of in the community. Really, really nicely done. All right, let's look at our next play was a Tesla. So Tesla, what was the news on Tesla? Let's talk about the news, right? What was our game plan? Let's go back to our game plan on Tesla. Tesla, the game plan I gave this morning is Piper Sandler issued a bullish note. Morgan Stanley called it a top pick. So there are two catalysts. I gave support pivots, I gave resistance pivots. My plan was that if it's push over 224, then I will long it, and 1 hour is bullish. So that was the plan on Tesla when the market opened. Let's see how it worked out. So as soon as market open, Tesla breaks out of that 224, indicating the long side, right? And your risk is this 223 or 222.50. And after that, it was just about getting an entry on Tesla. If you have a problem with 10 minutes, you can always trade 3 minutes and look at that, and you can look for the flags, you can look for the bottom wicks, you can trade those. I don't really need it. I just trade the 10 minutes charts. It gives me good enough conviction to trade that. So let's see what, okay. So before the actually market open, Win was, Win, my friend Win, and a senior trader in the community, he was high worry focused on Tesla, right? We have Morgan Stanley news, we have our levels. He told everybody to watch the dips, and then he had a bullish bias right out of the open. And we already have the level for 224s, and that breaks out. And then he's looking to long further, and he's looking to risk 226 as well. And then I also confirmed that 1 hour clouds is a long, right? It's a long over 1 hour clouds. And then it was all about managing your trade, focusing on the targets. We saw a lot of bullish flow even come on the Tesla option flow scanners. We have the free scanners in the community, and you saw a lot of flow coming in. And then our targets were 230, 232, and a lot of teamwork in the community on this Tesla long. And my final target that I gave everyone, let's see, and we used Bookmap to see where the sellers are, where the buyers are, just to get an idea about. Okay, so you see still flagging, continued guidance, 234 target met, and then we were watching it again for the pullbacks and see what it's going to do. So what it did was, let's see here, and Win gave a 227 pullback level. I was more looking at 226. It pulled back, that's fine, you get out, and then it held the 227 that Win gave everyone, and then it reclaimed 512 clouds. Whenever something reclaimed 512 clouds, it's even more bullish, and even that time it went right back to our 234 target again, and you got another trade in the community right back to 234 where there was a seller, right? So that was a definitely great trade. Morgan Stanley upgrade really helped this trade. It was a nice win in community. You can look at the whole timestamped guidance, and you can see how the community traders, everybody was trading Tesla all day long. You can see a lot of winners in community on Tesla today. Very nicely done. So let's look at McDonald today. Okay, so McDonald was on our watch list. Game plan today. McDonald earnings EPS miss, sales miss, bullish to neutral. That was our plan. Only long if clouds hold. I gave a breakout over 256. Right, support was 251, resistance was 256. Initially, when I saw it bearish on the amateur move, I saw this candle. That's where I took the shorts. Right, we took a short, shares short, but then it swiped back over the clouds, swiped right back over the clouds, right over my resistance point, and we quickly cover, because this is an amateur move, so you have to be fast. So quickly we covered the short, and then it hit my breakout, and that's what I told everybody: over the cloud, close the shorts, look for longs, and this was a 256 long breakout. If you did not play the amateur move, you did much better than me, because I was because I have to be ready for the short as well. But look, we cut our shorts right away. We do not hold it. There's no reason to add. The short is not valid anymore, because we are over the clouds. You take the long, you reverse it, right? Let's say you're covering your short at 255. You add the longs right away. Your stops are right back under 252s, $2 or $3 stops. And look, since I said that, it went from 256 all the way to 263 almost, and by end of the day we almost hit 264. Even if we lost $2 or $3 short, if you change to the long side, we made almost $6-7 or $7-8 on the profit side, right? So there was enough room to make money on the McDonald on the long side, and once it broke 512, that's where we exited. So that was McDonald in the community today, guys. So that's how you trade the McDonald for the long side. It was a beautiful trade, McDonald in the community. But do understand that what is an amateur move, what is a trend move. Do not be shy to change the bias, right? Close your short and look for the longs. And we did meet a bunch of the targets on and there was a flag breakout as well happening middle of the day that tried to push it further, right? 263, 264. Those was my targets. I told everybody to hold it long, and was a nice little trade here. All right, let's look at next one. The next one we're going to look at is ON Semiconductor. What was the plan on ON Semiconductors for the day? ON Semiconductor EPS beat, sales beat, bullish bias to long, cloud pullback. That was the plan. Support was 77, resistance was 77, support was 73. So as soon as you see that it's holding up on the 10-minute chart, and then you see this push, you take a long, right? You take a long and you see this breakout at 77. I told everybody first 5 minutes it's holding up bullish. I tell everybody long confirmed, stops at 76. So you risk $1 and our target was 80 bucks. I gave that target in the morning and we hit our 80 bucks, not once but twice. We pulled back, retest, and then we pushed again. So that was a $3 profit, risking $1. And you don't have to wait on me in the community. The plan is given, the levels are given. You see how our initial risk is 73, but then we move the risk higher because our entry is higher. If I risk 73, that's too much of a risk, so I have to find a new risk level, which this area gives me right here. This kind of area gives me that risk to stay long, right? Because we don't want to lose too much. If it pulls back $1, take that loss, because we are trying to make $2 to $3 risking $1. I don't trade options on it, not sure how they went, but definitely a great trade on the share side. All right, let's look at next one, which was ARM. So what was the plan on ARM? So let's go back and look at our plan. The plan on ARM, so you see HSBC kind of downgraded ARM. So this was a downgrade play. I said all clouds are bearish, check the level sheet. So let's go back and see the level sheet. Right here you see the level sheet, ARM 145, 26, 140. So that means as soon as ARM breaks that level, it's a short, right? It pushes, it fails to get over, and it becomes bearish because there's already a downgrade and it's breaking. So you take a short, either you take a short closer to the clouds where you can risk $1, or and then you can add into the pre-market lows breakdown. And ARM was really heavy. I talked about it on the voice, that how it was leading the sell-off, and it was most heavy ticker in all the semiconductors. And I've been talking about that today is not the day to long semis, because they are weak all day, they are heavy. I even tweeted about it. So ARM was definitely a great short from that pivot, the support pivot that broke down, right? If we look at the other pivot that we had on ARM, 149, 150, 51, it could never get over those resistance pivots. You see, it could never get over the cloud. So there was no confirmation to get along on ARM, right? So it was just a short, and market was heavy, market was short. So that's why ARM was a great fade in the community under all the EMAs. 1 hour bearish, 10-minute bearish, daily bearish. All right, let's look at AMD. We actually longed AMD today, but it was only the amateur move. I want you to carefully see that when we longed AMD, and it was a loser because it was amateur. I mean, it did push up, push nicely for, it did push like $2.5. If you were fast, you probably scalped it. But after the amateur move, there was no bullishness. And when it came back right here, we added long here, came back right here, we stopped out. Because, if I didn't stop out here, I would have lost another $3 per share. And my option, even if I had options, they would have gone much more lower. So I respect my rules, right? The amateur move long, I added even more, and I reduced my size. I did tell people that reduce the size because because it's getting heavy. The market is heavy. Semiconductors are heavy. So that's fine. Taking that loss is fine, because you take that loss and move on, or you short it rather than hoping that it bounced, because my trade was right here. I wanted to see amateur move hold. I wanted to see this area hold and move up, up, up. But when I see lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, just take a loss and move on, right? It was still higher than where I added, but I did add up a little more because when it was breaking out. But then I realized that semiconductors are really heavy. I gave a lot of warning on the voice, and then we exited AMD for a loser. All right, let's talk about few of our low float winners today. So we have been introducing a lot of low float trades for the small cap traders who have been asking for a lot of low float setups. So we launched our low float watch list today. There was number one on the watch list was SLRX. If you don't know this, you have to watch my low float webinar, or you have to go to my website, ripstereducation.com. You study these small cap trades, and then you will get it how we trade it. We do not trade it random. We have a fixed system to trade the low floats, the small caps. You can read it here on my website. Anyways, so SLRX was one of the top watches today for us in the community, and I think I tweeted the watch list yesterday as well. Reason being, because a lot of reasons being, the float is just 1 million, short interest 20%, cash per share is 283, market cap 3 million, and it has been running. It is a day 4 setup, so it was a day 3 setup. Day 3, day 4, tiny float, breakout over 350, long bias with strong volume, support pivot 260, resistance pivot 350. And right in the morning, right out of the open, our SLRX, our price alert started to hit, right? I try avoiding this. I try to do these plays more commentary on the voice, because just want to avoid any new traders who do not understand how to trade this kind of, chasing them, or until they learn it. So anyways, hopefully new traders can watch these recaps. So I've been watching this for a few days, 1 2 3. It's been a downtrend line, very tight float, and it's been setting up a nice breakout, and this 350 was our breakout. As soon as the price started go in, I could see the price alert start to hit right at open. It took a long there. Risk was right at $3, and target was 4, but we actually pushed more, 430. So that was a nice trade, risking 30-40 cents to make $1. 25% move on SLRX was really, really a good trade for a lot of us in the community. And we have our low floor channel where all day we are discussing those, and you can see the all day guidance on SLRX. Not only that, even in the middle of the day, you could see a repeatable. These are all repeatable setups, right? This is another repeatable setup that I teach as part of my webinars. You can see how 3450 cloud held, another flag, another breakout. You could easily scalp these 350s, right? Risking 3-4 right here at 350s, 365's entry, 15 cents, and it pushed all the way to 420s. Even if you have small account, 1,000 shares, risking 150, you easily make $600-700 there. So these are the kinds of setups we play in the low float world. So that was kind of 2 trades on SLRX today in the community, and I talked about the round 2 here as well in the low float channel. Really nice play, and I gave the plan in the morning. If you see, this was posted in the morning. Anybody who followed the plan on SLRX from the morning did really good there. Another one that really worked out on the low float was SERV, SERV. Let's look at SERV. The plan on SERV was running on NVIDIA stake, a bunch of other information. Support was 10-1160, resistance was 15-1660. So once the resistance breaks, that tells you that it's going to go higher. And you see that right out of the open, it pushed over that 15 level, right? And it held around that 15 level. Then it pushed over the 1660 level. So both those levels triggered long, and then you could see that SERV was continued to push, and it broke out and held all day. SERV was a beautiful trade again in the community by a lot of fellow traders in the SERV. A lot of all you had to do is follow the clouds, right? Watch my webinar how to play this. Definitely a beautiful trade. So another one I want to talk about is SAVA. SAVA setup came in middle of the day. Those who have been following my videos, we know that how much we traded and made good money on SAVA from the $10 breakout. I kind of was watching it for the swing. I completely missed it. My price alerts were not set. Regardless, it broke out of Ripster 50 EMA daily cloud. So that's the importance of 50 EMA cloud, guys. I told everybody that it's a big breakout. From the 16 breakout, even if you risk 25-30 cents, it ended up at $18. A lot of traders are still swinging it because this is such a big breakout. I mean, I have talked about it so many times that how important the 50 EMA is. How important the 50 EMA is, and if you are my old follower, you might know that how many times I've talked about SAVA. Beautiful trade in SAVA. Daniel was all on top of it. Jason Spires. A lot of this today. It was all about these low float setups. Beautiful opportunities. So next one we're going to talk about another low float was that came in ISPO. So ISPO was again a lot of all these companies, guys. There's no fundamentals in them. They're trash. And you have to watch my webinar where I spend 2 hours on explaining, but there is definitely some price reading, the setups that you can use to consistently make money in the low floats. No doubt about that. So anyways, today middle of the days, the ISPO came, the price ISPO came in, and we were talking about ISPO. Let's see, can show you what we were discussing on ISPO. Just want to show you that. Let's see. Yeah, so ISPO news came in. It's, if you can look at 3 minutes, I can show you. So what was happening? So ISPO news came in. News didn't came in. Our scanner started to scream up. It went from 420. It halted up right at 5, pulled back, and it held the 5. And there was a buyer at 5. So that's why I said 5 buyer. If holds, we will break out over 550. And that's exactly what happened. ISPO went on to break out over 550 and pushed in towards 576, then pulled back, pushed again into 6s, right? It was a nice little scalp versus the 5. A lot of us traded that in the community. Most of the trades were in our low float channel. We were trading this ISPO. I also talked about how it's holding up. We discussed these low floats. Going to make this low floats guidance more clear going forward, but they're definitely, and you can see ISPO, right? 5 never broke. The clouds are still being held, and we are at $740 right now. Even this is the after hour squeeze setup that this is my repeatable strategy that I discuss in my webinars. And even if you read the link to my small cap, this you will understand, because I show you the timestamp trades that I have done before in the small cap world. So anyways, very good day today in the small caps. A lot of money to be made, and there definitely a lot of risk involved. As long as you understand how to play these low floats, that's why I provide a lot of this information. You need to understand dilution, how much risk is there, insiders, institutions, cash, the short interest, the float, cash per share, all these things. You just can't long them without anything. And a lot of them are supply demand. Some of them will have news, a lot of them will have no news. Volume is key. Better the volume, better the trade. There are still some other trades. I mentioned TIVC, and that also kind of was a penny play. Again, it was a 50 psychological level, and it held the clouds all day, and finally it pushed in towards 80 cents and still gapping up. So these are all the low float setups and how to trade them. Let's go to the next one. Just going to go quickly through the next ones. Let's look at SMCI. So SMCI was short today, right? A lot of traders were short in the community because semiconductors were weak. The levels on SMCI were 714, 708.50. Once those levels broke, the clouds broke. That was a short. You can see it's clearly breaking down under 1 hour clouds. So SMCI was just a short, right? So I told everybody in the morning when it was pushing and pushing at those 725 levels, I told everybody under the bearish clouds, avoid it, avoid long. And of course, I was guiding people on the short side end of the day during the mornings, and 690 was the target I gave them, and we almost met that target. You see that we met 690 by 1120, right? So that was my target right here. So SMCI was a short. Let's look at the next one. Next one was PHG. PHG was our news play. So PHG was news play, 28 support, resistance 29, bullish buys as long as 28 holds. That's the plan I gave everybody in the pre-market, right? And it was kind of gapping up already, and it kind of flagged, and then it broke out of my resistance pivot I gave everybody. That was 29, and that was a long, and then it went on to give to nice push 29.53. Was a decent trade in the morning in the community. Let's look at some other trades. Disney was a good long. I mentioned in the morning the community that is turning bullish, and they could trade it. And I followed through my guidance with the on the voice, and I did tell everybody that Disney target is it's 92. Nothing special, but we try to be on top of everything. So I can show you that how the Disney worked. Let's talk about some more plays from the game watch list. Let's look at ABT. So ABT today, the plan on ABT was trade versus 100, short under it, long over it, and Abbott just held the 100, and then it just pushed from the 100 all the way to 100, 450, filled the full gap. Guys, that's the power, that's the power of psychological numbers. I repeat again and again and again. So simple. ABT, all you needed to use was trade versus 100, long it, pull back the cloud, hold it, and trade it long. And similarly, there was another one on our game plan. That was AKAM. So that was a trade versus 100 as well. It was extended, the resistance was 100, and right away to reject it. If you short the 512s, although you don't really have to risk hundreds, you could risk high of the day or 99.50, but you see as we go close to 100 how much the resistance acts, and AKAM faded from 99 to 97. Then in middle of the day it broke that and it faded to 97.05, 98, 97, just with using that 100 level to trade, guys. AKAM, right? So that was AKAM. I know a lot of traders did trade AKAM nicely. MACD did really nice on AKAM and PHG. So beautiful trade in the community. Let's quickly close it by talking about IWM. So IWM was short today. You could clearly see that. Why was it? Because IWM level 225, 539, 224.88, both those levels gave up. And we were under the 3450 clouds. And that was a short. Bounce, rejection, short. I even tweeted about it, and then it broke the 1 hour clouds. So IWM, there was no long in IWM today. It was all short, right? It was all short. And it faded from 225 all the way to 221. Well, let's see what happens after FOMC. But anyways, guys, that's all it for today. Hopefully you guys learned something new today as well. See you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.